The moment a national power grid fails, the silence arrives first, not the quiet of night or the calm of a rural landscape, but the abrupt absence of the electrical pulse that modern civilization depends on. Air conditioners stop mid-cycle, elevators freeze between floors, cellular towers drop offline one by one as their backup batteries drain. Traffic signals go dark across entire cities. Within seconds, millions of synchronized electrical processes that normally operate invisibly behind the walls of everyday life collapse into disorder. For most people, the first reaction is confusion. Because power outages are familiar. Storms knock down lines, neighborhoods lose electricity for a few hours, technicians restore service. But a true grid-down scenario is fundamentally different. When the entire interconnected system fails, the recovery process becomes not a matter of flipping switches, but of rebuilding one of the most complex engineering networks humanity has ever constructed. To understand why this matters, it is necessary to analyze how modern electrical grids actually function. A national grid is not a single machine. It is a synchronized network of power plants, transmission lines, substations, transformers, control centers, and automated stabilization systems operating across thousands of kilometers. Every generator within the system must maintain an almost perfectly matched frequency, typically around 50 or 60 Hz depending on the region. If that frequency drifts too far above or below the target range, protective mechanisms trigger automatic shutdowns to prevent catastrophic damage to turbines and transformers. The stability of the grid therefore depends on an extremely delicate balance between power generation and power consumption. When demand spikes or generation drops suddenly, the system attempts to compensate within fractions of a second. If the imbalance becomes too large, protective relays begin disconnecting parts of the network. What begins as a localized disturbance can cascade through transmission corridors and trigger a chain reaction that spreads across entire regions. Many people assume that large blackouts occur primarily because of dramatic events like sabotage or extreme weather. In reality, the majority of grid failures begin with much smaller triggers. A single transmission line overheating during high demand can sag into vegetation. A transformer relay may misinterpret a voltage fluctuation as a fault condition. A regional generator might disconnect unexpectedly during peak load hours. These events are usually manageable when the rest of the grid has sufficient redundancy. But under certain conditions, especially during heat waves or winter cold snaps when energy demand approaches maximum capacity, the system operates with very little margin for error. At that point, even minor disturbances can initiate cascading failures that travel faster than human operators can respond. One of the most common misunderstandings about large-scale power outages is the belief that restoring electricity is simply a matter of restarting power plants. This assumption ignores a critical engineering problem known as the black start challenge. Most power plants cannot start themselves without external electricity. Large thermal plants, nuclear reactors, and many gas turbines require powered pumps, control systems, and ignition mechanisms before they can begin generating electricity. Under normal conditions, these startup systems draw power from the grid itself. When the grid collapses completely, those sources disappear. Only a limited number of specialized facilities possess independent black start capability, meaning they can begin generating electricity without external input. These plants are strategically distributed across the grid to help restart the system, but the process is slow and extremely coordinated.